Hi, so in today's video, we want to share with you something a little bit different than what we did in our previous one. In the previous one, we talked about the date night question, and that's more focused on the quality time that you're investing in each other, that time as a couple where you have that curiosity and you want to connect a little bit further. Today is a little bit more about the logistics of life and how important setting aside time to discuss certain topics are so that you can avoid some of the little unnecessary conflicts that easily arise within marriage.
When couples come in and talk about conflicts from the week, they often have a hard time remembering what it was that they were even fighting about. And that is because the majority of conflict is about small issues. It's about the logistics of life often. And a business meeting can help you avoid a lot of those needless conflicts. Life goes by very fast. There are 1,000 different moving parts. If you have children, your jobs, birthday parties coming up, finances, there's so many things that hit us throughout the day that we're not prepared for, that we didn't discuss. And then there's assumptions about how those things are going to go that, again, weren't communicated. All of that can add up to a lot of stress, a lot of conflict that can definitely be avoided.
Exactly, and sometimes we commit to stuff without realizing all of the other things that we're already committed to. So what we want to suggest to you is the importance of a business meeting. This doesn't need to take a whole lot of time. It really is just like once a week where you sit down together, you discuss the upcoming week, get out your calendar. Nathan calls my calendar my mom Bible because if it's not in there, it's not happening. So you want to take out your calendar, you want to look at the week ahead, the things that you've already committed to, the obligations you have, the different directions that you're going, and then you also want to kind of look at the month and see, an overall picture. How many more things should you add to your calendar?
It'd be ideal to do this once a week if possible. I know that this has been transformative for our marriage. I'm not one that likes to sit down and look at all the calendar events and plan all those things out, and I definitely avoided doing these at first. But when we actually started doing them, I love them. It gets rid of all the stress. We're able to communicate on things that, I don't know if you ever had a conversation like this, especially with your husband, when you say, hey, don't you remember that we talked about that, this thing coming up this weekend? And your husband might say, I have no memory of that. We never talked about that. We as men, we very quickly forget these things. If you're not looking at us in the eyes and we're not talking about it, it's not an intentional conversation, there could be all kinds of things that you guys did discuss that aren't remembered. But in a business meeting, they're far more likely to be remembered. You guys can get on the same page. You can be far more effective, not only just how you live your lives, but in how you coordinate and communicate about the different events of your lives in your marriage.
Right, so we've talked mostly about logistics and scheduling, events that you have, commitments you've made, but business meetings are also an opportunity to review finances, things that need to happen around the house. Sometimes you can even discuss parenting issues or strategies around maybe there's a certain behavior in one of your children that needs to be addressed, and what are your strategies around that. This is really intended to remove some of those other conversations about work, finances, and children away from your date nights so that your date nights can really just be investing in each other and connecting at that deeper level, and leave some of the nitty-gritty details of life outside of that time spent together.
Right, and the length of these can be anywhere from 5 minutes to maybe 30 minutes. Now, if it's been a long time since you've connected and discussed these things, the first one might be an hour. We would say that the amount of conflict that you will avoid, the amount of repeated conversations, you're saving a ton of time by doing this. 3 things that maybe if you need some structure and format for this, maybe 3 things that you can focus on, especially in your first business meeting, is one is just upcoming events, just your schedules, the plan, what's coming up with your kids and sports and people visiting and trips you want to plan, whatever those things may be, however far out you may want to go, maybe a month, and maybe 3 months, and maybe 6 months, depending on your personality, but those logistics. Number 2 would be your finances. If there's anything expenses, things you want to plan that cost money, that'd be the second one. And the third could be anything pertaining to either parenting, things with your children, or your marriage. If there is some unresolved conflict, if there's something that you guys feel like is still sticking there, it's a good time to discuss that in this meeting as well. That then allows your date night to be about romance and about fun. Your date night is not a time to talk about these things. And again, we will do a video on how to have the best date night possible. But talking about business meeting stuff on a date night, it can definitely be avoided when you know, hey, you know what, we'll deal with that in our business meeting.
Right, go over more problems in your business meeting, things that you need to strategize around, problem solve around, so that you're freed up on your date night just to have fun and enjoy each other.
So set yourselves up for success with this. Plan a time, schedule it just like you would anything else in your life. It's really important that you put it on your schedule. You're held more accountable to that. We've done this usually on Monday nights. I find on Mondays, I know it feels like it's in the craziness of life, but often you're a little more focused at the beginning of the week. Some might even do it on Sunday afternoon before the week begins. Set yourselves up for success with this and definitely give it a try in the next week. Talk to your spouse about it. Just like anything with your marriage, when you're trying something new, it often feels intimidating. It feels like maybe this isn't going to go well. Maybe this isn't going to, this is going to cause conflict. And we're going to talk about conflict in some future videos. That if you want to look at those first before coming back and asking this question, that's fine. But I would still give it a try, even if you just talk about logistics. Maybe you don't talk about money. Maybe you don't talk about your children or your marriage, but just start with planning and build from there.
Right, and give it a few times to get used to it and allow it to be effective within your marriage. Sometimes you can see success in the very first time that you try something, but oftentimes it takes a few times to create a rhythm as well as a habit for it to really be as profound and impactful as you hope it will be.
So we hope you give this a try. We know that it can be helpful. We hope it's encouraging for you. It'll help avoid conflict. It'll allow you guys to communicate better. And we really think that you will benefit from trying business meetings in your marriage.